Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, announced today the creation of a buffer zone in Ukraine along the entire border with Russia. I have here about 5 articles, one from the Ukrainians, one from the Americans, and 3 from the Russians, to explain what that buffer zone will look like. The Russians spoke about this buffer zone in the past, so it's not something new. It's just that Putin right now reached the point, he thinks, that how they call it, the special military operation in Ukraine, reached that point where it needs a buffer zone. So that means they don't need to gain more land, capture more land. So the Europeans could drop their, fantasies in claiming that the Russians are coming over. But I personally don't think that this buffer zone will work. But let's see what the Russians or Putin has in mind. I will start with the first article, and I'm going to use the Ukrainian side. Here it is. Let me put my goggles. Ukrainska Pravda. Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Putin announces creation of quote-unquote buffer zone on border with Ukraine. Nothing new. We'll see why and how that would be implemented. So, security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine. So this is the current map of Ukraine with Russia. So this is the border right here. This is Belarus. So this is where the border with Ukraine starts. This is Russia, this is Ukraine. We're going to look at the realities on the territory. So this is the border. Okay, so this is Chernihiv, this is Bryansk. Then you have Kursk, Sumy. Then you have Belgorod, Kharkiv, and then you gain the line of contact, which is Luhansk, then is Donetsk, then is Zaporozhye, then is Kherson. This is the line of contact. Now, the Russians claim that this part has to come and fulfill the last part of Kherson. Then they get here and say this is part of Zaporozhye, needs to be part of us right here. This part is not in Russia's hands. A little bit of Donetsk and Luhansk right here, and that's it. So the Russians claim they will have a buffer zone starting from here to here. No more land towards Odessa or anything like that so far. So let's see what he has in mind. This is what Putin said, and I'm quoting. I have already said that a decision has been made to create the necessary security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine. He said that Russian armed forces are currently working on this task. Putin did not specify where exactly the Russians would be created a buffer zone, end quote. All right, but I have that information. DPA International, Putin announces buffer zone along Russian border with Ukraine. And the same thing they say, the border following his return from Kursk region. Our forces are doing Trapalaka, and this is what he says. Putin also issued instructions for a comprehensive reconstruction program to be worked out for southern Russian regions affected by war, including Kursk, Belgorod, Bryansk. Kursk, Belgorod, Bryansk. Right here. Kursk, Bryansk, Belgorod. These are the 3 oblasts that the Russians do not have troops yet in Ukraine. The word is yet. All right, so let's see what the Russians are saying. Russian army is solving task of creating buffer zone. It's a short video and basically it's just 18 seconds. I'm not going to play it. I will say what he said. The Russian president said that his army is now solving the task of creating a buffer zone. I don't like this thing, his army. And I'm quoting, I have already said that a decision has been made to create a necessary security buffer zone along the border. Our armed forces are now solving this task. Okay, highlights of Putin's speech. And this is very important. Putin calls methods used by Ukrainian armed forces and foreign mercenaries terrorists. So now if they're going to capture Ukrainian armed forces or foreign mercenaries, they will be labeled terrorists. Enemy chooses target not connected to the military. Well, they claim the same thing about you. Russian military activity suppresses enemy fire points. Work underway. Ukrainian forces hunt for civilian vehicles, including ambulances during drone raids and sabotage group actions. Next, this is Russia set on creating buffer zone. Again, this is the same thing as the other one, paka, but we have right here the main explainer why Russia wants buffer zone along Ukrainian border. Combat veteran and retired Colonel Anatoly Matvichuk, sounds Ukrainian to me, reveals the military logic behind Russia's plan for a massive buffer zone in Ukraine. What's the goal and how will it impact Zelensky and NATO? So this is what he says. This won't just be a demilitarized belt. It just won't. It's about shielding Belgorod, Kursk, Bryansk, Crimea, Zaporozhye, Kherson, and Donbas region from NATO artillery fire. So he says we're going to shield all this right here in Crimea from NATO's artillery fire. That is how far they can cover the range. That's what it is. Why 100 kilometers? That's 60 miles. And I'm quoting, NATO supplied long-range artillery can hit targets from 70 kilometers. Now there's about 50 miles. Now, if you take it like that, what if tomorrow NATO supplies Ukraine with long-range artillery that can hit, let's say, 1,000 miles? So he talks about 100 kilometer. Add a 30 kilometer safety margin and you get 100 kilometer deep buffer. So let's look over the map. So he says that we're going to do 100 kilometers buffer from the border from here, from the border 100 kilometers that way. Okay, now that 100 kilometer in straight line, I think it's going to go about here, my friends. Right there, at least here in straight line. Or let's get it half of Ukraine. So that means in here, because the Ukrainians, NATO supplied weapons, artillery cannot hit over there in Russia. But what if these guys receive something that goes right here, this far, this range, from here to there? That means the Russians will have to put this line, the buffer zone line, to here. That means all this is going to be no man's land. Or if it's 1,000 kilometers, that's going to go to, I don't know, half of Poland or something. All right, so let's see what else, because he's going to say some interesting things. In Afghanistan, the Soviet Union created a similar zone. Same logic, same scale, same victory, I'm guessing. Where exactly? We're talking about Sumy, Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kharkov regions. Sumy, Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkov. So, not that one actually. Where is it? There you go. So he's talking about this right here. Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Sumy. So this area mostly, that's what he talks about. Right here, this area. The Fertile Crescent. All right. Territories bordering both the old and the new Russian regions. No Kiev control allowed. And I'm quoting, yes, Ukrainians may live and farm there. Just a bunch of farmers, that's all. But there will be no Kiev administration, no man's land, that's what it is. What does this mean for the Ukrainian military? And I'm quoting, push them back 100 kilometers and they lose the ability to launch raids, surveillance, or shell border towns with key weapons, drones, and long-range missiles? Question mark, maybe. But the backbone of their firepower gone. All right? And then he said on Zelensky's reaction, he'll cry crocodile tears, scream about occupation, but our leadership won't blink. The safety of our people come first. Matvichuk concludes. So, what did they want to do? They wanted to create a buffer zone here. And this area will have no status. The Ukrainian military will not be around, and it's going to be no status of anything. What's going to be? Buffer zone, basically. And then Ukraine here with NATO. Oh, well, they didn't talk about it that far. So, is it workable? Yes. But as I said, what if these guys received, I don't know, longer range artillery. I don't know if artillery goes more than 70 kilometers, as he said. I don't know what they will be supplied. Now, will it work? That means they partition Ukraine, because that's 100 kilometers. I'm going to show you another map. How much 100 kilometers would be in straight line? And here it is. This is the map of Ukraine. Here you have the distance, okay? So this is 100 kilometers right there. This little thing, 100 kilometers. So if you take it in straight line from the border, from here is going to be almost halfway Kiev, right there. So I'm going to keep the cursor about 100 miles away from the border. It's going to be like this. Here is already taken. Okay, so this is already taken. So I'm going to go 100 from the Dnipro here. That would be about here. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go around here. Krematorsk over here and turn around. So this is basically like all this. All this what you see in this map here. As I said, I indicated it's going to be from right there, all this. All that will be buffer zone in there. Workable? Yeah, workable. Will the Ukrainians accept it? No, but I have they will not accept it, but you know, the realities in the territory will tell a different story than the ones that people want to make believe. Oh, that's the way it should be. The Russians said, we don't care. The safety of our people is what we care, and do something about it. As I always said, you can criticize, you can blame, you can say this, you can say that. Eventually is, what are you going to do about it? Or can you do anything about it? And I don't think as of now they can do anything about it. And the Ukrainians little by little have to be, I'm not saying they have to be, but we'll have to accept this. Like, for instance, if you remember after the Second World War, when it was the Japan's unconditional surrender imposed by the Americans, it was the Emperor Hirohito. And Hirohito was considered in Japan a god on earth. And the Japanese who were practicing, I think it was Shinto, they really believed in all that, and they believed he is the god on earth. Therefore, it was hard for them to. Some people haven't not even seen the emperor; they couldn't see and all that. It was that kind of view on the emperor, and the emperor went on the radio, and the Japanese people for the first time heard their emperor. And he said regarding the unconditional surrender, he said that we must, or we have to, bear the unbearable. And that's it. The same. The Ukrainians, it seems like they have to bear the unbearable as well. What are you gonna do? As of now, this is the reality. You've been used by foreign interests, and unfortunately, you are the only ones. You are the only ones who pay. It's not those foreign interests. No, it's not Great Britain, it's not London who's paying, it's not Berlin, it's not Paris, it's not Warsaw or Washington DC. It's you. So maybe next time, think who you elect. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.